You know, I don't think people really understand how good Fortnite Reload is. This was the mode I wanted in Fortnite for so long. I think it's the mode that a lot of people really wanted in Fortnite for a really long time. I remember the first time I played Rebirth inside of Call of Duty, I was like, man, I hope Fortnite makes a mode like this at some point. This is so much fun. And several years later, here we are. Reload is the mode that Fortnite needed to be free, to experiment with their own original ideas and concepts, not just in this particular game, but also in main BR as well. This mode was created in necessity, out of response to what was happening in main BR. Last year, Fortnite wrecked the most controversial season of all time. Even to this day, people are still debating on whether or not it was good or bad. I was in the camp of people that absolutely loved it, but there were so many people that didn't. So many people stopped playing Fortnite at that time because they were just too frustrated with how the game was working. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Fortnite just gave us this beautiful beacon of hope. Reload. I love it when Fortnite is very self-aware of what's going on in the community and kind of plays fun with it. Like in the Fortnite Reload trailer, they said pedestrians only. They knew everybody was sick of the cars. Now, at the time, we weren't sure if Fortnite Reload was going to stay around forever. Like I said, this was something to kind of take us away from Wrecked because of how frustrating it was. However, looking back almost a year later, this was the best decision I think Epic has made in years. Fortnite Reload really allows players to enjoy the true essence of what Fortnite is supposed to be, the true fun of the game. Raw gunplay, goofy items, and Fortnite's original ideas. There are no collabs to be seen anywhere in the sucker, and it's not necessary. Not to mention you have the added bonus of faster paced gameplay. Now I know that for some people, that's not what you enjoy. You like the slower pace of VR, and I think that's fine. However, there are so many Fortnite players that do enjoy more consistent fights. There is something to be said for that consistent adrenaline rush of always having the risk of being third-partied. Whether it's solos, duos, squads, whatever you're playing in Reload, it's constant action. In many ways, even if you're not a big Reload player, I think Reload is a good way to get warmed up for pubs. It's a great way of getting your game sense up, your situational awareness, always being ready for the next fight that's coming to you, even in a BR setting. But let's take a step back for a second because there's something I just mentioned that I want to hone in on a little bit more, and that's Fortnite really relying on its own ideas. This, I feel like, is the true fun for me and a lot of older Fortnite players. If you're someone like me who's been playing this game for the last 7 years, you've been there since the very beginning, Fortnite Chapter 1, Season 1, and you've played every version of this game, there are certain aspects of it from the past that you're going to miss over time. What Reload really allows Epic to do is to pull from their 7+ year library of content that's ever growing and throw it in the mix at any point in time. The way you see this being executed at the time of this recording is through the loot pool, but in a little bit, I'm going to give some suggestions on how I think they can and probably will do it in the future, which is what really gets me excited about Reload and why I say this mode has endless potential. But getting back to the loot pool, Reload really confused a lot of people when it first came out. I remember there were players asking why the Chapter 3 weapons were in the same loot pools as the Chapter 1 weapons, and we were all like, dude, this is not designed to be a perfect recreation of Chapter 1. Like, yeah, it's OG inspired, but this is like a fusion of different elements from Fortnite's past, and that's kind of dope. This is kind of what I've been looking for a while as an older Fortnite player. And you know what? That's something I just realized as I'm talking to you guys recording this video right now. I think the reason why a lot of players don't enjoy Reload is because you probably haven't played the game, like Fortnite in general, long enough to really appreciate the diversity of loot pools that we've had over these last few years. Like, think about it. If you're someone that started in Fortnite Chapter 5 or even Chapter 4, there are 3 other chapters worth of weapons that you've never even seen. Meanwhile, someone from my perspective is sitting here like, wait, hold on a second. Why can't we have a loot pool where the plasma cannon and the hammer AR and the OG Scar and maybe Slurpberry, Flowberry Fizz, whatever, is all in one loot pool? Like, that sounds amazing. This even kind of goes back to a point I made 2 or 3 videos ago by this point. I like the idea of Fortnite taking the best elements from previous seasons and mixing them all up together. They have such an insane library of content, so many weapons and items that have been introduced to spice up the loot pool, spice up the gameplay, spice up the meta, and many of them have just been forgotten about or neglected because, to be fair, there's so much. But Reload is a great way to reintroduce them, not just to older players, but also a new audience that wants to see see how some of these old items and weapons used to work. One thing that I've been happy about ever since we returned to a hit scan based model for the weapons is that Epic can reasonably throw in any weapon from Fortnite's past into the loot pool at any point. That was the downside of bullet drop, which is that if they want to bring in an old weapon, they basically have to recreate it from the ground up. Whereas with the old weapons, well, they can just bring any of the old ones back and put it inside of the loot pool if we're going off of hit scan. The advantage to this is that Epic can bring back any weapon at any point in time to mix up the meta. It always keeps me wondering or guessing, could we see one of my old favorite weapons return to the loot pool at any point in time? The great thing about Reload is that it takes this concept of curiosity of what could be coming to the loot pool next, but ramps it up to 11 because it gets updated so often. There's so many different ways you can mix and match loot pools and combo different items together that were never designed to originally be in the same loot pool, and that, as an OG player of Fortnite, excites me. But listen, it's not just the loot pool that's amazing about Reload, it's also the map design, the potential for what they could do with maps. Think about it like this. Reload has proven that they can take one old Fortnite island and turn it into multiple maps. Both the maps that we have in Reload right now are based off of the Chapter 1 island. You have the OG map and the desert map. The desert map is clearly based off of Paradise Palms, but they've also created some new POIs that are kind of mixed in, and they're blended, fused versions of POIs that were on other parts of the island, but they've given it the desert treatment. Same thing for the OG base Chapter 1 island. Yeah, there's Tilted and Pleasant and Retail, but they also added in some new POIs that are kind of OG inspired. I love this because it's giving us some new that's based on the old. It pays respect to what came before it, but also creates something new. This is when Fortnite is at its best. I have said this a million times, but Fortnite is always at its best when it focuses on its own original ideas. There are no collabs in sight. There are no IPs. It's just Fortnite looking at what they did before and like, how can we take what we did in the past and remix it in a new way to provide a new gaming experience for our audience? And once again, we have two maps based off of one island. The potential for map design is literally endless. And see, that's the advantage you have when you're not focused on making one-to-one recreations of old experiences like OG. I love OG, the mode is fun, but to me, it is not as fresh and exciting as getting a new version of Reload. I would rather have 5 new Reload maps than experience the last 5 seasons of OG. And the crazy part is, I think they might actually do that. I started to sit down and think about what kind of maps we could see in the future for Fortnite Reload based just on OG designs. They could do an entire Neo-tilted theme map, not just focusing on tilted towers, but that whole futuristic city theme that we had in Chapter 1 Season 9. Or an Old West kind of map based on Tilted Town. And listen, that's just Chapter 1, but there's other eras of Fortnite that we can get into as well. Like, for example, imagine a cube-themed map based off of Chapter 2 Season 8. Wreck spaceships, Cube Town, maybe new Cube POIs. So much zaniness that could be added into a brand new Reload island. Another thing they could do too, which would be really fun, is start to mix different eras of Fortnite together. For example, let's go back to the jungle theme. Imagine a jungle theme map that had elements from Chapter 4 Season 3, as well as Chapter 1 Season 8, but also maybe Moisty Mire in there from Chapter 1 Season 1. You take all the swampy, jungle-type elements of Fortnite and throw them all together in one big island. Or you can do fusions of maps for concepts, like Chapter 4 and Chapter 1 fused together. And I know I keep going back to this, but that's what I want people to understand. The possibilities for Reload are endless. It's where Epic can literally be the most creative. I'm just gonna go out and say this, but I do not believe that Epic has fully utilized Reload's potential. There are some things that have not been done yet that I know what, I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna predict them here. I think they're going to do this in the future, and if they don't, they definitely should. I think Fortnite Reload would be a good place to reintroduce old mechanics as well as lean on seasonal events a little bit more. For example, let's take Fortnitemares for example. I think it would be cool if around during Halloween, Epic took all the maps they currently had in rotation and put cube monsters and zombies on each one of them. Add the fog, add the spooky decorations, make each map feel like it's Halloween, and do that for the last 2 weeks of October. Or if they wanted to be really bold, make an entire Halloween horror-themed map and have that sucker come out once a year. It would give the community something to look forward to every single Halloween. Same thing goes for Christmas. Cover every map in snow, or just make an entire icy winter map that we get to play for all of December and early January. Finally, I think Reload would be the best way to reintroduce old mechanics that have been left out of the game for a really long time. For example, bring side grading or upgrade benches back. That's one of the weaker examples, but let me give you 2 more which would actually get me excited. Bring augments back for a month and just see how it works out, or bring back the heat mechanic from Chapter 4 Season 1. There's literally so much you can do, so many different things you can mix and match that would make Reload the perfect Fortnite experience. Heck, even right now, I would argue that it is the perfect Fortnite experience. I am enjoying Chapter 6. I love it. This is so much fun. The game is so much fun. Reload and Chapter 6 are both keeping me on Fortnite longer right now. But there is something about Reload that I just cannot escape. When the current Fortnite season is at its most fun, I still cannot get off of Reload. I still want to go and play. And look, it's nice to have the variety of both. I'll play a little bit of main BR for a little bit, and then I'll go to Reload. Maybe I'll play some OG, go back to Reload, go back to the main Fortnite BR, whatever. It's just a overall great experience. But these things that I mentioned, I think would make Reload even more fun. But I want to hear from you guys. Down below, let me know what you think would make Fortnite Reload even better than what it is now. And do you see the limitless potential that this mode has? Look, guys, I love y'all. I hope you enjoyed this video. I got more content coming out for you. In the meantime, check out the video up on screen. Use code Clark. I love y'all. I appreciate it. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.